So, Chris, what are your overall assessment of the first 48 games?
Yeah, I mean, definitely different. I guess track to get here than last year. Whereas last year it felt like health-wise we were always in a good spot, and a lot of things went our way. And this year right away, felt like right away. Halloween, we lose Pierre-Luc, which was a big loss to the group, and that kind of started the adversity, and we had some guys step up and do a really good job. Justin Stortuff, I think, has done a really good job filling in part of that gap. Obviously, Stromer and Nick Dowd have helped as well as the other centers. And then to lose guys like Alexei and Tom for longer stretches, losing Jacob for a few games, and then Stortuff, who had filled in pretty well. It just makes it hard. It's hard for Carves to put together a lineup where he's trying to have lines that can match up against another team's top line while also giving other lines ability to generate offense. It's just made it difficult for our team to be a dominant team every night. But I think on the bright side is we've hung in there really well through losing a guy like Pierre-Luc, and we're still right there standings wise, and the league is extremely tight, as has been written a lot about by all of you guys. So we're still in it, and hopefully we can get healthy here. Hopefully Tom gets back soon, Justin gets back soon. Pierre-Luc's obviously skating, so if we can get healthy and stay healthy, we'll be in hopefully a good spot to make a push.
When you have injuries like that in so many mountains, does it kind of make it harder to assess the group as a whole and maybe where things stand amid the inconsistencies?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's hard on the guys, right? Like every night they have a different line. It's hard to get chemistry with your line mates, and then even in game, you're losing a guy in game, so now the lines are jumbled, or like a line that Carves tried isn't working, so he has to shift the lines in game. It's the lack of consistency for the players is really hard, and they've done a great job to battle through it for sure. And that bleeds into specialty teams too, right? You lose guys off your first power play unit, other guys got to fill in, then other guys are filling in on the second group, and same for the PK. So it's been a bit of every morning is kind of the coaches have to sit around and figure out what the roster is going to look like for that night, and I think everybody's been doing as best they can to play their best and put the best group out there.
Do you think it's because of the injuries and because the lineup has been so inconsistent, that you've been inconsistent, haven't been able to put back-to-back wins together for the last month and a half or so? Or is there more than that?
Yeah, no, I would say it's mostly that. I mean, I think at one point, we were basically missing our, what you could argue is an entire first line with Pierre-Luc, Tom, and Alexei. So that's hard to do for any team. So yeah, I think if we're a fully healthy team, I would expect this last stretch of games, there's probably a few more wins sprinkled in there, not the every other day kind of thing. But we are where we are, and just like guys stepped up when Pierre-Luc got hurt, I think we need some more guys to step up here in our current situation. And we've been doing it a little bit. Like a guy will have a big night. Ethan Frank had a big night a couple games ago. But it'd be nice to see, just kind of the group playing a little more every night, just like understanding we got to play really hard every shift and grind out a win here. So, and hopefully on the injury side too, I think, as you guys saw today at practice, kind of everybody's skating now. So hopefully we're out of this thing soon, knock on wood, and we can start getting back to our kind of core group.
What does the trade market look like right now, and are you guys actively pursuing an addition?
Yeah, I definitely actively pursuing an addition. Like I've seen written out there again in the media, and I think it's an accurate description with as many teams in the mix right now, playoff wise, as there are. I think teams are very much trying to figure out their timing and what they need to do and when they want to do it, and how aggressive they get, or do they stand pat. But yeah, I mean, for us, we view our biggest need as kind of a higher end, skilled winger, and those aren't always available at the deadline. It's when they become available, they become available. So we're going to keep trying to pursue those guys if they're out there. And you know, and again, on the trade side, I've said this in the past, it's not necessarily harder for us, but like we have a group of prospects that we really like and a lot of teams that really like as well. So it gets to the point of, you know, if we can get a team to move off the top of our prospect list, then maybe there's something to be done. But we're not gonna trade away some of our top guys that we think are going to be a huge part of the team for the next 10 years for something that we don't think is going to, you know, have the impact we need it to have. So yeah, we're actively looking at whatever's out there and hopefully we can find something here before the deadline.
Do you think the Olympic roster freeze will create any urgency before that for moves, or maybe lead to some moves before that? Or
yeah, I don't know. Just because I think it may, if to me, it's more standings based. So if there's some clarity for teams in the next 10 to 14 days, then maybe they say, hey, we're going to start it now to get ahead of it, try to get, you know, strike while there's a lot of buyers still. But if it continues to be kind of how it is right now, I don't know if teams are going to just kind of wait and then use the Olympic break to start to make some calls and try to get things going for right after the break.
It just happened, so you may not have fully formed thoughts on it. The Rangers just made the call that they're going to start to retool and kind of made the decision on where they're at. Do you think that might spark some things or get other teams to make decisions, or are they kind of on an island?
Well, I mean, it definitely helps know there's potentially a seller there. I mean, I think a couple teams have indicated that they're more willing to be a seller than a buyer right now. So that definitely helps. But you know, again, like the prices only go up the longer you wait. So I think most of them will probably just take their time to aggregate their offers and then try to get the best one possible. And you know, in a team like that, there's probably some players with trade protection that it takes a little bit longer to work through deals sometimes.
With Alex on the last year of his contract, not wanting to trade away the prospect, is this a situation where you're looking for more of a kind of pure rental on the top end, or are you looking for longer term?
You know, I hope that whatever we do kind of fits both. You know, I hope we can do something that helps us, you know, in the short term for this team getting into the playoffs again, for Alex to have another run at the playoffs, and also helps long term for whenever it is, you know, he's not on the team. And you know, I think if you look at some of our history, like even guys that looked like rentals when we acquired them, like a lot of times we'll end up signing them to deals after. So I think that's a situation we look at too. Like it might look like a rental type deal, but maybe we can get the guy to you know, sign on for an extension after we get him here.
Speaking of Obi, what have the conversations with him been like, you know, as he mulls his future and what he wants to do next?
Yeah, I haven't really had that conversation. We talked a little bit just about, you know, where the team is and what he feels we need and what I feel we need, but it didn't really get too much into his future outside of this year. I would say his conversation with me, he seems very focused on kind of just the short term here and this team, you know, trying to get into the playoffs and have another shot at winning the Stanley Cup. So yeah, you guys are going to continue to have to wait on that. Yeah.
What do you?
You had any conversations with John Carlson about his status or potentially?
Yeah, we've talked, and I've talked with his agent as well. So we'll continue to have conversations here.
When you look at the need for a scoring winger, and maybe if it doesn't go in that direction, you guys can find somebody, is there the potential, or do you guys maybe look at some of the players in Hershey who are having stronger seasons to give them a rep, maybe some of the young prospects coming on board a little bit sooner, or is that not something that you guys really consider?
No, I think that's a really smart thought and something we're definitely trying to do as well. You know, I think you see even with a guy like Ryan Leonard, who's a top prospect, I mean, for a young guy in this league, there's going to be some nights that are better than others. So you just want to make sure you're putting these guys in a position to have success initially, especially if it's their, you know, first time playing in the NHL. But yeah, I think it'd be great to get opportunities to get all these guys up and see what they have and see if maybe one of them is partly an answer for down the stretch.
One of the things I think you said before the season, and unfortunately didn't work out, was you wanted to see what Miro could do, and he got hurt. But why haven't we seen him? Is there just not roster space for him? Right now?
Yeah, the injury was part of it. sometimes the the type of player that we want to bring up is part of it. You know, we had a chance to bring him up, but it was like he probably wasn't going in the lineup right away, so better to leave him in Hershey playing versus bring him up to sit in the press box. So when he comes up, we want to try to get him in the lineup as much as possible. So we'll keep looking at opportunities to get him up here and see what he can do and further evaluate him. And, you know, like, well, again, halfway into the season here, so hopefully there's a lot more opportunity for it.
So we've talked about the injuries and the impact on performance here. One thing that kind of has come up a lot the last couple of weeks has just been D-zone coverage. You guys were so good 5-on-5 for the first month and a half, 2 months. Lately, there have been a lot of mistakes and they've been pretty loud and they've cost you guys. But it's the same people too. Like, I mean, the same personnel as start of the year. What are you seeing going on there?
Yeah, to me, that's a bit of the wear and tear and the wear down of, you know, when you lose guys that are playing 20 minutes a night, you replace it a little bit with guys that were playing 8 minutes a night, but more other guys are now playing closer to 30 minutes a night, and that adds up over the course of several games. And when you're tired, you make mental mistakes, you know. So I don't really. I guess it's not something that I'm overly concerned with. I feel like if we're a healthy or totally healthy lineup, and the minutes are spread out in a more ideal fashion, and Carbs can kind of roll the bench the way he wants to roll it, I feel like we get right back to that, you know, really good 5-on-5 team at both ends of the ice.
So with Pierre-Luc, if he's like ready towards, I guess, right or before the break, would you just give him the whole break just to make sure that he's good to go? Or are we talking the other side of the Olympics for him?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to speculate really on that stuff, but I think we're always, you know, when a player's fully confident that he's ready to go is when we put him back in, and you know, Jason Service does a great job managing that process. So whenever Pierre-Luc feels like it's time, then he'll go in. Yeah.
Does the injury situation make it harder to kind of judge the team for how big of a swing you're willing to take?
I mean, I guess it gets back again to whatever swing we take. I hope is both, you know, a short-term and potentially long-term swing. So no, I mean, you know, if we're really banged up but a guy that we think is a great fit for now and the future is available, then we go out and we do it, and we try to hopefully we get healthy and get back to our full lineup. But no, I don't think it has a huge impact.
What have you made of Hendrix Lapierre's season? He comes in and has a really strong camp to kind of win a roster spot in the final year of his contract, but just seems to not have really worked out to a point of him finding consistency in production. Just what have you made of his year?
Yeah, I mean, he's had a great attitude. He's worked really hard, as you guys have all seen. I know I feel when I watch him from up top, I feel more comfortable when he's out there than I did last year, and I think Carbs feels similar. But you know, at some point too, you do need to see, you know, you need to see some production or something to kind of, you know, force the coach's hand to play him more and play him higher in the lineup. And I think Hendrix is still looking for that. He's still looking, you know, to have an impact on a game offensively. You know, there's some games where it looks like he's got that going a little bit more, but I think, you know, for a lot of young skilled players, like at some point they have to show, you know, I can do this, and kind of again force the coach's hand to play him in more situations and higher in the lineup.
There's been situations where he and Sonny, when he's in the lineup, where they're dressed, but they barely play after a certain point in the game. Like, is that a long-term thing you can continue to do, where you don't have play? You know, you're basically cutting down to 3 lines most nights.
No, but again, I think that's more personnel and injury related than anything. Like when you're missing some of the guys that we've been missing, and you're in a tight game, or you're playing from behind, or you're trying to protect a lead, you just kind of like, you know, Carbs is going to play the players that he feels comfortable doing that with, and he has a harder time, you know, matching up a line with younger players, or you know, a line with Sonny and Lappy. he has a hard time matching them up if we don't have some of the other guys that we normally have in the lineup.
What have you made of Brandon Duhame's season?
I would think Brandon would say that it's been somewhat inconsistent. I think he probably expected a little bit more from himself. But I think I feel like his game has settled down over the last 10 games or so. I think he's getting back to his identity a little bit of just being a hard guy to play against, first on the forward check, turning over pucks, managing pucks, not putting him in bad spots. I thought earlier in the season maybe he was trying to do a little too much, and just now that he's kind of gotten back to his identity, hopefully he can continue to build on that.
Going back to the identity, looking at the fourth line, it hasn't necessarily been consistent either with Duhame maybe not paired with Dowd as much as he was last season. Does that present some issues with consistency too, specifically for those two players? Or
I don't know. I think with Nick, he's always been viewed as a fourth line player, but he has he has the skill and the sense of a guy that plays higher in the lineup, and so Moore's been trying to find some different combinations, and maybe putting him in a position where he can play with some players a little bit higher in the lineup and be in more of an offensive role than just a check the other team's top line role. So I think both Brandon and Nick are fully capable to play away from each other and bring what they bring to whichever line mates they have.
Where do things stand with Hudson?
Um,
I almost said Lane. Jeez.
yeah.
Cole.
Yeah, no, it's I'd say very similar to the situation with Leonard last year, where I'm leaving the player alone, but definitely we've are staying in touch with his representation, and if he's ready to come out at the end of the season, we'll be ready for him.
It's like Brooks Orpik probably checks in with him and does a little, just kind of calls and talks to him a little bit.
Yeah, I mean that's any of our drafted players, that's what our player development staff does for sure. Yeah.
was it scary there for a minute at World Juniors when he went down with that?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we were playing New Jersey, and I had the game on in the booth, in the GM booth, and so I turned to look and I saw a player down in front of the net, and so you see the stretcher out, it's like the last thing you want to see, and then I look at my phone, I've got text messages saying it's him, and it was definitely really scary, but and I had no idea what had happened, right? So I didn't know, did he get like steamrolled by somebody, or is what happened? And then I saw what happened, and such a fluky play, but I was glad to see him get back fairly quickly from that scary scene, and he's back at college playing, and I know he's hoping for a really strong second half for BU.
Are you taking credit for finding Justin Sordiff?
I definitely took a lot of heat for trading for him at the time. Yeah, so maybe I should. Yeah. No, I think it's that was a perfect example of kind of just our process, and what happened with Justin, we just finally got to trade for the guy, but there's a lot of players that we talk about, when we just had our pro scouts in, and we go through every team in the league and we talk about their entire depth chart, and you'll get on certain teams and a certain guy, a scout will say, oh, like this guy looks pretty good, like first year pro, he does this, he does that, and then the analytics guys will say, oh, he shows up like really good for a 20-year-old in the AHL, and oh, by the way, his draft year, he was like really good, and our guys had him, as a late first rounder, but they just didn't get a chance to take him, and so that was kind of the process with him. So he was a guy we tracked for years, not just right before we traded for him, and we talked to Florida about him a couple times in other deals, and it never happened, and then luckily for us, they were willing to do a deal there at the draft, and yeah, and I think Florida knew what they were losing too. I think that he drove a hard bargain. Like you don't see that deal a lot, right? A second and a sixth for a guy that really hadn't played in the NHL. But Bill knew when I was talking to him. He's like, you're getting a good player here, and it's just we have 4 good centers ahead of him, and so I think one of those deals that for both sides it made a lot of sense, and I'm glad it's worked out so far with Justin.
Did you expect him to be a center?
We, when we watched him, we viewed him as a center that could play wing, but we liked him more at center for sure. Yeah.
Big picture thoughts on the power play.
To me, it feels like it was starting to trend in the right direction, and then Ryan got hurt, and then he came back, and then Tom got hurt, and then Jake missed some time. So like, I feel like they have the right mix of players if we can just get them all in the same game. And for a few games, it might be nice to see. But it felt like it's starting to get to the right spot where, at the very least, they're possessing the puck and generating some chances and getting some momentum, maybe, if not scoring goals.
Yeah.
You talked about the guys in Hershey more broadly. What have you made of the other players this season?
It's been great. We had high expectations for him coming into this season, and he's met or exceeded those. So very excited about his future with the organization. For a 20-year-old guy doing what he's doing in Hershey this year in the AHL, it's usually a sign of good things to come.
Is he one of the guys you like to maybe get a look at some point this year?
Yeah, it'd be nice if we can find the right situation for sure. Yeah.
Have you guys reached out to Eric Smateko at all after seeing him go down?
Yeah. He's had a bunch of us reach out to him, and I mean, he's in as good spirits as you could have for that. I mean, just crushing with being announced the Olympic team and that happening. It's not much you can say to the player, because it's just a brutal stroke of bad luck. But yeah, he's in good hands, and we'll start the process of coming back.
Speaking of injured prospects, what's the situation with Lakovic?
As far as
like timeline, will he be ready for the summer stuff? Or
yeah, he should be. I mean, I think if he were on an NHL team, they would say, hey, maybe if we could have a deep playoff run, he might be able to come back. So I think part of the reason for doing the surgery when he did it is he wanted to be fully ready for training camp.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to talk about it or not, but when Quinn Hughes' name came available, your team came up. Was that more?
Yeah. Which one of you guys was doing that? Was that you?
No,
getting
I
that?
got
Huh? Yeah.
So that was like not really ever. I don't know. Obviously, you guys do your homework and you
Yeah.
contact, but wasn't really much to that.
I mean, we checked in for sure. I really like Cole Hudson, and for me, I want to see what he can do in a Washington Capitals sweater. So that wasn't a piece that I was willing to move in that kind of trade. And also, Quinn Hughes is elite player for sure, elite player. But when you have Jacob Chikrin and John Carlson and Cole Hudson coming, and to me, I don't know if the price, again, top prospects we're talking here. I don't know if that price would have made sense for what we have. And glad Billy did us a favor and kept him out west, so we only see him twice a year. Yeah.
Going back to the Olympics, just asking you in general about Tom Wilson. You've gotten to see him over the course of his career, his evolution. How special is it now to see him getting the recognition and getting to go to the Olympic Games?
Yeah, it's great to see. It's great to see people, I think, finally appreciate what Caps fans have appreciated in him, in the fact that he's a top-line forward. He plays first unit power play, first unit PK, 20 minutes a night, brings it every night. And then for a while, I just felt like all people want to do was talk about, benign body hits that he threw in a game. So it's good to see him finally getting the recognition for his complete game. And yeah, I mean, I think Canada is gonna love watching him play with the maple leaf on his chest. Like there could not be a prouder Canadian hockey player.
Who are you cheering for in that situation?
No injuries is what I'm cheering for in the Olympics. For everybody, every single player there. I just hope everybody gets through healthy. It's going to be a great tournament.
Where you
I'm gonna go for a couple days towards the end. Yeah.